Welcome to the TalentGrow Show, where you can get actionable, results-oriented insight and advice on how to take your leadership, communication, and people skills to the next level and become the kind of leader people want to follow. And now, your host and leadership development strategist, Halelly Azulay.
Hey there, welcome back, Talent Growers. I'm Halelly Azulay, your leadership development strategist here at TalentGrow. And this is the TalentGrow Show, where we develop leaders to be the kind of leaders people want to follow. If you're a regular listener to the show, welcome back. And you know that I have about 3 out of every 4 episodes are an interview with someone who has something interesting to contribute to your leadership development. And 1 out of every 4 episodes or so is a solo episode, sometimes where I teach something that is content that I share in my workshops and when I speak and do consulting around the country and around the world about leadership development to different organizations. And sometimes it is an Ask Halelly episode where I answer a question that I get from a member of my audience in my workshops or when I'm speaking, a member of the media, or someone who is a listener of the podcast or a reader of my blog who sends me a question. So this week we have an Ask Halelly episode indeed, and the question is about confidence and how to build confidence. So I hope that you enjoy it. Let's tune in. So here's the question. The questioner says, confidence is a major contributing factor to accomplishing our goals and how we are perceived in the workplace. However, it's not a naturally occurring trait in all of us. For those who already feel confident, how can we build it further? And for those of us who don't feel confident and sorely need to develop this muscle, what can we do to attain a comfortable level of professional confidence? So in my answer, I want to start first by defining confidence a little bit so that we're talking about the same thing and we're clear about what it is and what it isn't. And then I'll share with you some ideas I have about both how to build it and also how to demonstrate it to others. And I want to make sure that specifically we're talking about self-confidence here. So let's start by defining self-confidence or confidence. And I looked it up in the Merriam-Webster dictionary online. And there it says that confidence is a feeling or consciousness of one's powers or of reliance on one's circumstances. So to me, it's believing in yourself and your own capability. So I think that there are really 2 kinds of confidence that you'll experience in yourself, maybe, and definitely sometimes in others. There is earned confidence and unmerited confidence. And I think that to some people, they might even get confused in their mind. They might conflate earned confidence and unmerited confidence, and that might make them feel even uncomfortable approaching this idea of developing confidence or demonstrating confidence in the first place. So I think it's really important to distinguish between these 2. Earned confidence comes from a legitimate combination of competence and comfort. In other words, your confidence stems from objective competence, real skills, actual knowledge. Whereas unmerited confidence is a lot of times an empty confidence. In other words, you display confidence, you seem to have confidence, but it isn't backed up by anything in particular. And while I'm not a psychologist, nor do I even play one on TV, a lot of times I think that this kind of confidence, this empty confidence or unmerited confidence, is a defense mechanism. It's a way that someone tries to mask either a low self-esteem. In other words, they don't feel very good about themselves on the inside, so they exaggerate their confidence or appearance of confidence on the outside to try to make up for that feeling of emptiness inside. And sometimes it stems from an exaggerated self-regard, or what Bill Treasurer called hubris when he was on the show talking about the leadership killer. I'll link to that episode in the show notes. So it's not based on actual capabilities. It's not based on actual earned success. It's a front. There's nothing behind it. So I don't want you to focus on that kind of confidence. That's definitely not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the real confidence, the earned confidence, the one that has a reason, the one that is backed up by actual accomplishments and credibility. So when we think about how to build confidence, and if we think about confidence as stemming from competence, then now we can start talking about how to build it up. And of course, my suggestion is you've got to have competence to back up the confidence. So one way to build confidence is first to build competence. That means that you want to develop your skills, you want to develop your knowledge, and you want to do this intentionally, consciously, proactively. And as you probably know from other things I've talked about in the past, I definitely think this is something that you need to do all the time, all of your life. It is an ongoing process of improving ourselves. We always have something new to learn. The world is constantly changing, so you can never really rest on your laurels and say, that's it. I'm competent enough. There's nothing else for me to learn. If you've struggled with low confidence, low self-confidence, I am sure that there are arenas or topical areas or domains in your life right now where you have competence and when you feel like your skills are good, when you feel like you know what you're talking about or you know what you're doing. And I want you to think about how you feel when you're doing those activities, how you feel on the inside, right? How does it feel to do something competently? How does it feel to know the answer to something? That's a really good feeling. And that is a source, a wellspring for confidence. So it's going to be important for you to tap into that because that's going to help fuel your ability to demonstrate confidence, to feel confidence, earned confidence, which you're entitled to. Building competence is one way, and that's by learning new skills and learning knowledge and developing yourself. Part of that too is practice, and that's my second suggestion. A lot of times, the more that we do something, the more that we repeat an action, the more that we use a skill and practice doing it, and practice in a way that is geared towards improvement of our skill level and or entrenching that skill as a habit so that you can become better at doing it without having to think about it too much, then you develop even further competence at whatever it is that you're doing. So the more that you practice, the more that you see yourself as competent, the more that you experience yourself as capable and knowledgeable, you develop muscle memory. And that not only increases your actual skill level, of course, but it also can increase your confidence in yourself and your ability to do that. And in your ability to know that you can do it even when you're stressed out or even when push comes to shove or even though other people struggle with whatever that skill is. So practice is an amazing enhancement for confidence. Now, sometimes it's not enough to just work on the inside. Sometimes we need external input. So my next tip is going to be a little more complicated. It's going to have 3 components. And I think it is important for everyone to get this, but you need to be really selective in your sources, okay? So what am I talking about? External input. So up until now, we've talked about internal input and output, really, of learning skills and practicing. But also getting coaching and mentoring, getting someone who is already an expert, who already knows what they're doing, who's been down the road before you, and having them give you suggestions and tips, for example, or give you feedback about how you're doing can create an amazing source of self-awareness, a really great opportunity to improve your skills, to practice better. And feedback is what helps us develop and learn. So all of that can help us build our confidence because if you think about the top athletes, people that are at the top of their game, they always have a coach who helps them practice, who gives them feedback, who helps them know how to do something differently to become even better, or just kind of pushes them to go beyond where maybe their natural perceived limits are and pushes them to go further and work harder. So having an external mentor or coach, and that doesn't have to be a paid professional, of course, that is an opportunity and an option, but just a colleague, supervisor, somebody you know in your personal network who can mentor you or coach you. And so along with that is this idea of getting external votes of confidence. So for some people who have low self-confidence, sometimes they need to hear other people sing their praise. So I know this has been actually true in the past for me when I wanted to start my own business. It's like a little personal story. One of the things that I felt very lacking in competence about was selling myself. Being an internal employee, you're rarely in a position of having to sell anything unless you're a salesperson. So for me, knowing that I'm going to start my own business and I'm going to have to sell myself and my services was so scary because I really didn't have very much experience in that. This goes back to my beginning suggestion there, which is build your confidence by building your competence. So I felt unsure about being able to do that. But also, I wasn't sure, did I have actual marketable offerings? Or was I competitive in the workplace? What was my value proposition like? And I had low self-confidence about that, which was holding me back. And one of the things that helped push me over the edge to get started was actually a vote of confidence from an employer who sought me out. I was able to get a position with an employer that actually didn't work out at all. But it gave me a gift of seeing how that particular employer was putting out press releases about me joining them. They were really proud and excited about having me on their team. And they were like marketing that to their clients as something that was going to make them even more competitive. And that was kind of a surprise for me, actually. And really nice confidence boost because my goodness, if they think I've got something unique and special to offer that they think is worthy of making a press release about me joining them, well, gosh darn it, then maybe I do have something great to offer. So having that kind of external vote of confidence, and this can come in the way of getting compliments from people, getting accolades, testimonials, referrals. There's so many ways in which you are already getting external votes of confidence. And sometimes we don't listen to them, or we don't pay attention to them, or we don't take the time to actually believe them and savor them. So I think that to build your confidence, start to notice other people's votes of confidence in you and believe them. So get that feedback. Now, I want to say that feedback, of course, is not always just positive. Sometimes it's constructive, and it should be, because feedback helps us learn. So I do want you to recognize that you want to seek feedback that says, hey, you need to work on this, or hey, this is something that you're doing that might be getting in your way. That constructive feedback is really important in developing your skill. And I'm not suggesting you ignore it. But here is where it gets a little tricky for people who struggle with self-confidence, because sometimes they tend to overly exaggerate the constructive feedback because they have a negative view of themselves. And when they listen to that too much or give it too much credence, especially if that feedback is not a good source or not fair or not well earned, it allows them to become demotivated, or it deflates their self-confidence. So use maybe like that grain of salt approach when you receive that kind of feedback. Take from it what you can learn, but don't allow it to deflate your self-confidence in what you already know and what you already do have to offer, okay? It's just a way to grow and get better, but not a way to diminish what you already have to offer. Okay, so what we've talked about so far is that to build confidence, the real kind, you develop your skills, you develop your knowledge, you practice, and you get external support and input in the way of mentoring, coaching, and feedback, and that you pick up and listen to that positive feedback and those accolades so that you can use those to boost up your own self-confidence while not ignoring things that you need to work on. So now we can talk about the last piece, which is demonstrating self-confidence. The reason to demonstrate self-confidence is that it helps to build other people's confidence in you, which opens doors for opportunities, which gets you noticed, which gets you to be someone that people seek for help with the things with which you're competent. So it's a great match for them and for you. It's a great opportunity. There's nothing that's a sham or a scam or trying to pull the cloth over someone's eyes. You're not trying to get something you haven't earned, right? But even if you have your act together, if you're not demonstrating your confidence, you might remain a best kept secret and get passed over for opportunities that are a good match for you. And those people that need you will miss out on having you help them. So we've all experienced people who seem to lack confidence. And I want you to think about when you experience someone who seems to not trust themselves, when they seem to lack confidence in their own ability, what does that make you feel about them? Does that build up your ability to trust them with a task? If they don't seem to trust themselves, to be confident in themselves, no. It makes you doubt them. I mean, they should know, right? If they themselves don't feel like they've got what it takes, then why in the heck should you trust them with it? So this is really a dangerous territory. If you're a person who thinks that by not having confidence or by not demonstrating confidence, you're attempting to seem humble, if you seem like you're lacking confidence in yourself, you're actually not doing yourself any favors, because people are not going to give you opportunities that you merit, that you deserve, that you can shine with, that they will benefit from. Now, some people take this confidence thing too far. So I'm describing kind of like a pendulum. If you're swinging too far in the humble direction and you're very meek and unsure of yourself, that's no good. If you swing it in the other direction and you seem boastful, you seem cocky, you seem too full of yourself, that's not good, because that also seems to be something that actually usually you seem like you devalue the audience. You devalue the other in the relationship. If you seem like you think you're holier than thou, or you're better than them, right? And that's not something that's positive, because that's going to make people feel repelled by you. So it makes you unrelatable. This is definitely what Bill Treasurer talked about as hubris in that episode I mentioned earlier. It was episode 118. So when we are concerned too much about being seen as credible and making a strong impression, sometimes if we're trying too hard, we seem like we're aloof, or like we're cold, or self-important, or detached. I know a lot of people struggle with this. And I think that I've discovered how to balance the two. And it is embedded in a term that I've talked about before. I've talked about it when I talked about how to be an engaging communicator. I link to both a written blog post that I have about it, as well as a podcast episode if you prefer to listen. And it comes from an actual observation from someone else, back to that whole listen to what other people are saying. This was a compliment someone gave me. It was not expected. It was someone that I had just recently met. Actually, Chip Joyce, who was also on the podcast in an early episode. I'll link to that later. But he said that I exuded confident benevolence. And at the beginning, it dumbfounded me. I was like, you're what? Say what? And after I understood it, I've really embraced it as something that I think is something to strive towards. And so I was grateful that he gave me that compliment. And I've tried to teach others about it. So let's talk about what that means. Confident benevolence. So if you think about, again, confident, we usually associate that with being very sure of yourself, of confidence in your competence and the value that you bring and what you have to offer others. Benevolence is an idea of having others' best interest in mind, in approaching others with an assumption that they mean well, that they have something good to offer, that there's good in others, right? Expecting the best of others. That's how I at least define benevolence. When you mash those two together, this idea that I believe in myself and in my goodness, and I believe in you and your goodness. I think I have something good to offer. I think you have something good to offer. I care about what I have and what I need, but I also care about what you need. And I put those two together, and then I have confident benevolence. It means showing confidence while not completely diminishing your humility and other focus. So it means respecting your own worth while respecting others. Some people mistakenly think that being interested in others and being self-interested are mutually exclusive, but I believe my philosophy is that it's not an either or, it's a both and. So it's called the Schrader principle. It comes from the philosopher Ayn Rand, where you seek to engage with others as an equal trader of values. You create value for them, and you seek to be in relationships that are also valuable to you in the long term, not transactional, not like, what are you going to do for me if I do this for you? And I don't mean that. I mean long term. So they're win-win relationships. We both have a value that the other seeks, and we share that value with each other in a generous way, because we know that we're in a traded value relationship. It's a fair relationship. No one is taking advantage of the other. Both of us have something to offer to the other that the other finds to be of value. So being confident means being sure of yourself and the value that you have to offer. And being benevolent is being interested in the well-being of those you deal with so that you can really make sure that you're offering them value. This could be your employees, your peers, your clients, your friends, your family, anybody that you have a relationship with. You believe that they have a value that you could gain and that you have a value that they could gain from. So this combination of confidence and benevolence is a powerful one. And it's what helps you not seem like a boastful jerk or a meek person who is not worthy of other people's attention. It's confidence plus humility. So you make sure that you know and own your own value, and then you bring humility and an intense focus on other people's welfare into your interactions with others, and then you come across as both approachable and worth approaching. Some of the ways that looks on the outside to the others is when you smile, when you make eye contact, when you seem relaxed, when you're fully present, when you're engaged in the conversation, you listen actively and intently, and then you also add your ideas to the mix. So let's wrap this up. In this episode, we talked about what confidence means, and that real confidence is earned and unmerited confidence is empty and should be avoided. We talked about how to build confidence by developing yourself, by practicing, and by getting external input, both in terms of coaching and mentoring, but also in terms of feedback, and demonstrating your confidence by adapting an air of confident benevolence so that you're not too humble and you're not full of hubris. I hope this has been a helpful episode for you, that it helped you realize what you can do to increase your self-confidence from wherever it is to a higher level in a way that is merited, earned, objective. But I'd love to hear what your biggest aha was from listening to this episode, as well as any other ideas that you have about building or demonstrating confidence. I'd love to hear your feedback. And of course, any other topics, ideas that you have that you'd like me to cover in a future solo episode or Ask Halelly episode, or of course, if there's a guest that you'd like to hear from or a topic you'd like me to interview someone about, I'm always open to your input because feedback is what makes me better as well. I thank you for listening today. I hope that you have found this episode of the TalentGrow Show of value. And if you did, would you please share it with someone else who also might benefit from it? That helps me reach more ears and more minds and make a greater impact in the world, which is my intention, to make a positive impact. So thank you in advance for that. I really appreciate that. And thanks for listening. I'm Halelly Azulay, your leadership development strategist here at TalentGrow. And this has been the TalentGrow Show. Until the next time, make today great.
Thanks for listening to the TalentGrow Show, where we help you develop your talent to become the kind of leader that people want to follow. For more information, visit talentgrow.com.